Queensland, Australia welcomes Phoenix World Championship for the third race of the season. Here from Gold Coast Surfers Paradise, the drivers jump from the sunny and dry Dubai to narrow and intimidating walls of Surfers Paradise Street Circuit. Third round probably will be closer to the settling in point for the drivers rather than the guns blazing start of the season, where everybody had something to prove and people starting to figure out each other, starting to figure out what's gonna happen next. But now we do have leaders.
Radio check for Mr. Grinder.
And we do have news as well, but we'll talk about it a little bit later. But yes, people know who's gonna be in the lead, people know who is gonna be more towards the bottom, and here is the point where people cannot lose too many points. Everything counts except for one race, and the drivers are doing their warm-up laps before we go to the qualifier. My name is Ilya, and I'll be glad to bring you one more Phoenix World Championship race in January before we go to a 2-week break. This is our first break of, well, second break of the season, first break of 2024 after a double header, before we fly out to the United States for Virginia International Raceway. So, as usual, we have a 60-minute plus 1 lap race, and before that we're gonna have a 50-minute quali session. And that is gonna start very, very soon. The voice you heard is actually the voice of our race director, who is now able to communicate directly to the drivers, so if anything goes wrong, we're gonna know it sooner rather than later, which is our new addition to the series this time around. We do have live communication from race director to the drivers, and obviously from race director to the safety car drivers, so the formation lap going as smoothly as possible. You see drivers are still testing the limits in the final warm-up laps, testing the walls as well. And we do have the older classic layout of Surfers Paradise. This is before the break and before the change to the shortened version, where it goes left after turn 1 at the Esplanade into turn 6. This is the standard traditional circuit, which goes after the first chicane to the second one, up the Surfers Paradise Boulevard and into the double left-hander. Then we have the big chicane, and then the deadly S's without the supercars curbs, so the curbs are flat, but still one mistake and you're in the wall at the top of your speed, so that's exactly not what you want to happen. So we'll see how it goes. The drivers are slowly creeping up towards the end of the final warm-up. We have looks like 3 cars still going. We're looking at Framed Automotive, the orange Porsche. That's the last car on the warm-up lap. And once they complete it, we're gonna go for our 50-minute qualifying session, which precedes the solo 60-minute plus 1 lap race. The usual format for every race this season, so nothing new there. And you notice that we do not exactly have standings available. That is because of a slight delay. The second round in Dubai was in hot contention in Steele's room. There were a lot of reports regarding track limits and pit stops, so there has been an investigation launched in all of this, which means the results you've seen last week are still preliminary. We do not have final results, and as such we do not have updated standings to show you. So we'll have a second and third round together as it concludes and all investigations are done. But for now, we are going to the qualifying round, which is gonna start in just a few seconds. Looks like we do have a field of 10 today, so a little bit smaller than usual, but still on tight streets of Gold Coast that might still be way too much. We're gonna wait and see for the 60 minutes, and the cars are streaming onto the track, almost too wide into the first chicanes. And as I've talked, here is the first chicane, turn 1 into turn 2 onto the Surfers Paradise Boulevard, and followed up by double left-handers, turns 3 and 4, with a difficult curb on the left-hand side here, which is not flat, and if you dare touch it, it may launch you. No curb at all in turn 4, just a set of walls separating you from being nice, healthy and fast into being a little bit of a tangled mess of a car. Then we're going into turns 5 and 6, the first big chicane, or I guess the only big chicane. And here is the complicated part. As we go on board with the drivers, here you go, turns 7, 8, very tight and narrow. You want to go as fast as you possibly could, but it looks like McLaren team is slowing down a little bit, letting the traffic go by as he navigates turn 9 and a left-hander, turns 10, 11. Still 90-degree turns, probably not a chicane anymore, but still feels like it. Into the final, turn 12, which is a little bit complicated. You have to brake and turn right into the left hairpin before you exit out as the turn widens, and you go straight back to the Gold Coast Highway, which marks the start-finish line right around here as the drivers are out on the first timed lap. We're gonna stay on board with McLaren team for a little bit. The track limits are rather tight here, and they're signified by the yellow lines where applicable, apart from certain turns where it's the curb. Basically how you can distinguish, if the yellow line is adjacent to the curb, not like here, if the yellow line is adjacent to the curb, you use the yellow line. If the yellow line separates from the curb or track edge, you use the curb. As the yellow line is not the white line in the rulebook, it's not strictly mandatory, and there has been a distinction in the briefing room. So Australia is a little bit special regarding that, but in most of the turns you have pretty self-policing walls, as you've seen, as Artem just decided to eliminate himself from the track, hitting the wall just a little bit too hard. And you can see just how hard the walls can bite. It's definitely a race of attrition here, as shown right here in the qualifying lap. McLaren team meanwhile navigates. It looks like a pretty safe lap just to get a time on the board for the first time around, but still close to the walls, and you see the first attempt of a racing pass at turn 12. Pretty safe, no tire squeal. And obviously with the pit window and tires going off, that might get pretty dicey if somebody decides to leave their stops towards the very end. And I see the first laps streaming in. Goods at 34.560. You don't see times as they might be invalid at some places, but we do have actual times. Tim with 34.8, 35.4 for Psychedelics, 35.5 for Framed Automotive. 36.5 for Salt City, 37.1 for Viperion, 42.1 for Cool K, and a space program for Artem Racing. So this is how our first lap went. You see the yellow Ferrari now with a fresh coat of paint out on the flying lap. Well, I guess it's I don't think they had time for a flying lap. It's more of a second warm-up before they go green. Gunses was the first car to start their flying lap, and they're the first at the preliminary timing boards, being chased down by McLaren team. And looks like their second lap is not particularly impressive, almost a second down. We'll see if that second can be found towards the end, but I surely doubt it. Probably just a setup for the second lap, as team definitely closed the gap there. A little bit of a lockup of a front left there, you could see, as you have to shift weight hard onto the front while still turning just a tiny little bit. And here you go, the drivers are crossing the line now 35.6. It's a great lap, but not as good as his first one, and we see the actual checked and valid laps streaming in, and these are the times I have told you about previously. A little bit of a yellow in Sector 3 as Gunther decides to pull up and turn around into pits. Salt City with 35.3 as he crosses the timing line once more. And we have under 10 minutes left in our qualifying session. This is such a unique track. It's almost precisely only chicanes and 90-degree turns, but it's manufactured in such a way that does promote racing, does pose severe threat of a wall, which is not exactly made by 90-degree turns, because the most difficult turn is 7 and 8, which are the S's on what essentially is a straightaway to slow drivers down before they have to drive into turn 9, as you've probably seen by the V8 supercars, as Scott McLaughlin dived with a brilliant, one of the best overtakes in V8 supercars history, but it was at such a high speed that probably adding 150 to 100k is not a good idea, so they were forced to slow them down somehow, and they chose to slow them down in probably the most spectacular way possible. McLaren team meanwhile, 34.1, the new fastest time. Tim dropped significantly in the second race in Abu Dhabi, started deep and had to climb his way forward, so he definitely needs the bounce back if he wants to stay atop of the standings at the conclusion of 3 rounds. Gunther was in the same boat in round 1. He did rebound, but had an issue early in the race which dropped him down and had to pit twice, which definitely did not help him in the slightest. But the person who could capitalize on that is currently on pole. Noah James with 33.5, almost 6/10 clear of everybody else. The winner of race number 2 is now making a challenge for yet another race win. Great lap so far, and everybody has half a qualifying session to beat that. Looks like we have a little bit of a queue forming up of drivers. That's everybody from framed to Salt Cedar. That's 6 cars now in the second sector. So everybody formed up an orderly queue and continues in that queue. Now we see Viperian pulling up with a 36.1 being his fastest time. Currently we're seeing evening time footage from Australia, so that might go dark towards the end of a race, which is also another consideration. We do have very hot temperature. It's showing 27 degrees track. 27 degrees air temperature currently in Gold Coast, but it definitely can go lower as the sun goes down and we are preparing for nighttime. All the drivers have their lights on just in case towards the end of a race. It should still be sunset time, but we'll see where it goes. Like the framed automotive being our only Porsche today, as the second Porsche of Martin was unable to start. His car is sitting lonely on the pit lane without the driver, which is most unfortunate, but that's how racing is sometimes. So that's the only car you'll see that, well, could have gotten on track for 11th entry, but not at the moment. Autumn Racing with 34.2 joins the top 3 after being launched. Made us 35 flat in 7th position. The only car not on the time board currently is Cool K. The fastest time being 1:42.1. Still looking to improve on that time. Framed Automotive completes his lap 34.5. Psychedelics with 33.8. That mighty Mercedes the boat has the speed. Though you see a lot of wall marks on his right side, but still able to get a time done. Actually, there are signs of wear and tear on both of his sides, probably just shaving extra weight. Under 5 minutes to go, another good lap for Psychedelics. We see just 800ths of a second down on his own time. So could be an interesting performance for the German on his next flying lap. If he is able to navigate these perfectly, he'll have great exit speed. It looks like he did. Going on board with the German to maybe have a gander at his relative display. I don't think we have it in the view in the mighty Mercedes. The time does blink green, but I'm not sure if that means it's good on the deltas. He rounds out the final turn. The man is meanwhile 34.8. Better time, but no improvement in positions. As Psychedelics is now blasting down the straight and across the start-finish line for 33.737. Just 0.05 of a second shy of second place. Psychedelics was great in round one, getting himself a podium. A little bit further down with a risky strategy in the second race, but looking for a bounce back with his great qualifying so far, as all the drivers seemingly have about 2 laps to go now they cross the line, as does Saltseeder. Looks like he does not have enough time to get to his third lap, so everybody crossing the line now. Viperian 35.5 improvement, but not close enough to battle with Saltseeder. Kulke said 36.5, a 6-second improvement on his previous bank lap, and definitely joining a closer, tighter field. And looks like 3 cars on top that are going to be battling for the win. We see Not James, McLaren, Tim, 2 pseudo teammates as they're in different Racing Team Intel entries. You see the black car of Not James for Racing Team Intel 2 and a white car of McLaren Team for Racing Team Intel 1. Saltseeder is a team's teammate. Cap, who is the teammate of James, is not present today, so it's going to be a 1-car effort for Not James, who's currently in the lead, and a black Mercedes of Psychedelics, who is now back on track. Very close to the leader. Let's see if he's able to bring the consistency as well. An important part. 34.3 by Gunses, and an improvement, but not close enough to dethrone Artem Racing from his 4th position. And we have 1:33 now on the clock, so everybody starting a timed lap will be starting their final lap. Kulke 35 flat improves over Saltseeder and Viperian. Viperian is in the pit, so the qualifying is over for him. Kulke is off the road as well. That means the Indonesian is done with the quali. And now we have 8 cars remaining on track. Not James, I think he left the track briefly. Looking where could it be, that's turn 3. So it might be cutting a little bit too much, I'm not quite sure, but I believe he will have another opportunity to get a lap in, unlike Gunsis, who is now stopped on track and facing entirely the wrong way, so that's a crash in chasing a better position for Gunsis. He is now in pits with Framed Automotive. Remain is crossing line 34.7, improves on the lap, but not improving in places. We have a 32 seconds left. That's going to be Artem Racing crossing the line next. Let's see if he can improve, but that's a half-second improvement he needs to get onto podium position. He improves by a 10th, but not close enough. Next up is going to be McLaren Tim starting his final timed lap. It's a slow lap, it's a setup lap. Now we have 11 seconds, and it's probably going to be a checkered flag for everybody crossing line from now on. It's going to be not James first. Maybe he has time for one more. It's going to be tied, and zeros on the clock. Time expired. Not James with a slow lap, but I believe he managed to get it done in time. Next up, Saltcedar. Crossing the line, 35.3, no improvement. Next up, Psychedelics. No improvement in his time, so it's qualifying done. Not James not going for another lap. So that's 3 cars left. Nimedes is next up. He's gonna stop, he's not improving, he's not going for another lap. Autumn Racing, now one of 2 cars, that's Autumn Racing and McLaren Team, still in the fight for qualifying. It's gonna be Autumn now, the next car to but he is very, very slow. It looks like he's done with the qualifying. We're switching to McLaren Team, he's just a 10th down, he's still in it, and he needs just a 10, a little bit too hard, and that's qualifying over for 71. Just a little bit over rev. And that brings the end of our qualifying session. Autumn Racing not at racing speed, just bringing the car to pits. And that will be the end of qualifying, and we're going to start the race very, very soon. Meanwhile, as formation lap is being prepared, just a short commercial break, and we'll be back in no time. back as we are rolling for the formation lap for the third race of Phoenix World Championship here at Surface Paradise Street Circuit. The field is off. Once again, a reminder that we will hear from race director probably as we are going to the start, so everybody will have an idea what is going on as we prepare to start yet another 1 hour spectacle of racing. Ten cars on the grid now on the back straight of Surface Paradise, preparing to take the start. 60 minutes plus 1 lap, a mandatory pit stop window from 20th to 40th minute of the race. Here is the look and sound of the Pagani Huayra that is currently leading the pack. Just a little bit electric today. We are at the fine edge of technology here at Phoenix Racing Club. As the field is gonna bunch up shortly, preparing to take the start. Safety car is slowing down for everybody to get ready. We're going double file after the last turn, so that's gonna be a very tight and narrow window. Everybody is starting to bunch up already, so we are getting ready. Safety car driver waiting for the field to be set, and at the exit we'll see if we do have green lights, meaning we are ready to go. Lights still yellow as we await.
Go for race start.
Race start confirmed, green light, and now the field is in control of Not James, who's gonna take the start any moment now. Too wide, awaiting. Late start, and away we go. 73 on the throttle now. From 71, his teammate is not having a good start, but great launch from Not James, duking the entire field. We're looking back, everybody too wide, filtering down turn 1, and it looks like everybody made it through at the start. Second chicane also done right by everybody. Looks like a little bit of a tangle further back, but the leaders are away very cleanly. McLaren team is trying to attack hard into the 90-degree turns, maybe looking for a move where there is none. Everybody behind is also filtering through just fine. We're going to be concentrating on the leaders for now. McLaren team and Not James very close together. Atom Racing is a little bit further down, looking for a safer approach in the first lap as we're going through turns 5 and 6 for the first time. And now here's the real challenge. The tanks are full of fuel. Who's going to be risking, and is anybody gonna eat the wall, which might cause a great collapse of everybody involved? Everybody's trying to be safe here at the top. Looking further down, everybody is seemingly through with no great consequences. And looks like we continue on. Turns 9, 10, 11 navigated. Not James is a little bit slower than team would have wanted, which allows Atom Racing to close the gap a little bit. And very safe from 73, and that put his teammate under fire for second place as they exit the last turn for the first time today. Gonna see plenty of this in 59 more minutes of racing. 39-1, 39-2 for the leaders. Looks like the entire field made it through lap 1, so great racing awareness and great etiquette from everybody involved at the tightest possible moment of the race as we continue onwards. A little bit tight at the exit for McLaren team, allowing his teammate to get out of the way ahead of him. As the cars approaching the Esplanade as well. The entire field is still relatively bunched up. You can see everybody on the straight. Everybody sees everybody. And it looks like a little bit of draft helping as well. So it looks like the race of mistakes. So as long as your nose is clean, you're probably gonna have a very good time well, compared to everybody else involved. We've seen plenty of wall banging, plenty of penetrating with the walls in qualifying, and we see once again from Artem behind, who damaged his pastel yellow, I would call that, a Ferrari. A little bit slow in the results coming out of turn number 11 at Cerizia Avenue. You see a little bit of damage on his right side, but he continues on. If somebody wants to repair damage, they have gotten, without losing an extra stop, they have to wait until there are 40 minutes to go. Fast lap for McLaren team, 35.6. And he's staying on the tail of his teammate. McLaren team definitely faster in the second part of the track. South Cedar with a great lap at 35.6 further down the grid. He's now chasing the Matus for 7th place. Looks like Artem Race made a little bit of a mistake and swapping spots with Psychedelics, so somebody did something wrong, but now he's far back from McLaren team. It looks like Artem is struggling quite a bit with consistency, and now Psychedelics is backed up. That allows Framed Automotive to have a look, but slots back. Not enough overlap to attempt to move. Now under fire from Gupsis, who finds himself in 6th place. Quite low for the Latvian in his McLaren. And definitely safer approach from our two Asian drivers, Indonesian Kulke in 9th. Viperian, oh, looks like we have our first casualty. As soon as I say that, commentator's curse strikes once again. Sorry Viperian. He is the first victim of the wall at the exit of the S's. It looks like he was turned around there, now 12 seconds down, and with a little bit of damage. We'll see if he elects to repair it or just keep it going for as long as he can. Meanwhile, two Germans are on the tail of a Russian, Psychedelics and Framed Auto. Framed is looking, that Porsche is looking mighty on the straights. A little bit of a pocket rocket here, but still need to wait to set up a move into the braking point. Looks like Viperian elects to continue for now, as I see on the track map, looking for the dive inside Framed Automotive side by side, and that might be opening the door for the Latvian. Another maybe interesting McLaren move, but Porsche is stuck on the inside with a compromised exit of a turn. Now fighting off, and you look at that overspeed. He was on the inside with slower acceleration, but he's able to pull up on Psychedelics again into the chicane, looking for a crossover. Nothing there, but look at the extra speed. That Porsche is definitely speedy, but that's a dangerous part of a track. Who will blink first? 007 going for the move and slugging right in front of Psychedelics. Great move done by Framed Automotive, who finds himself in 4th place now. Brilliant move and great cooperation by a mighty Mercedes. You look at the backlog here because of this duel. Looks like most of the field is bunched up now behind Framed Automotive and Psychedelics. So if you make one mistake, that's end of a queue for you. Everybody filtering through, you see different styles. Psychedelics tries to stay inside to minimize his track out, while Framed Automotive swings wide. 34.9 for McLaren team. That's not the fastest lap, but he's now trying to claw back the gap not James made in the previous lap. You see a little bit of light flashing behind. That's Psychedelics and Gunses. Psychedelics forced to abandon the turn and now losing a couple of spots because of that. Gunses goes through and Nemedis sneaks by together, so two McLarens working together to get around a Mercedes. And do we have a move back? Kulke was looking for it, but no move on South Cedar as of yet. We have two McLarens. They are about the same speed, same cars, different setups, can only do so much. So we'll see if Nemedis is able to do something with Gunses. So just stay behind him for the time being and maybe improve together, get out of the way and get away, I would guess, from the Mercedes, who is looming large in the mirrors of the PRT orange car, the sister team. Oh, that's loose and it's in the wall! And that's another car in the wall. That's two simultaneous spins. That's Saltseeder and Nemidis continues. Saltseeder is facing the wrong way, flicks it around, and turn 8 bites again. Now 2 cars. Nemidis being overtaken by Kulki. Definitely heavy damage on both cars. You see the crooked rear wing for Nemidis. That car is gonna be limping through for quite some time. Saltseeder lets Viperian through, and it looks like that car is toast. It's not turning left, and it's pretty much a pit stop for that car. Very, very slow, having to coast back into the pit lane. A heavy impact, and that's a secondary impact. Looks like that car is not willing to turn left whatsoever, almost right in the rail, and that's a surefire pit stop for Saltseeder. Not scheduled and very, very slow. That car is absolutely shattered. Very unfortunate for the German. Had a fast lap 1, lap 2, and just being caught as he is now on pit lane for his, well, essentially mandatory repairs now. First serious victim. We'll see if Nemidis is able to hold on with his damage. The rear wing was definitely damaged from what we could see. As drivers continuing on, Framed Automotive and Gunses is now able to claw some time back. So still just over 10 minutes before the pit window opens. Not a lot of cars this time on track, so plenty of choice and plenty of open space. Looks like that's gonna be our closest battle here, but not the one you thought of, because Gunses is slow on this lap and Psychedelics is clawing back time. Now less than a second behind, using some advantage of that air from behind the McLaren, pulling him closer to his opponent. Definitely trading mistakes. This is the race of errors. Nobody's gonna be clean, you just have to be cleaner than your opponent. We're seeing the lead as well. The gap is a little bit down now to 1.1 as McLaren team settled into the rhythm and probably gonna be pestering his teammate in a short while. See the cars close to the wall again. You see them? The Mercedes being a little bit more conservative. Psychedelic selecting not to push as hard as he can in the deadliest turn 7-8, and that might be paying dividends as we are going back with our, I would say championship leader, but I'm not sure of the points as they're preliminary now. Our race 1 winner, let's go. McLaren team, almost trading the exact same time with not James as 2 Ferraris, battling for the lead on board with McLaren team. And well, as you hear the roar of the Ferrari, I would probably shut up for a while and let the car speak for itself with its pure sound. And we return to more chaos as Gunses and Psychedelics trade positions, and it looks like Gunses' McLaren is quite a handful to drive after some damage, and more damage and in the wall! Gunses in the wall hard! Secondary impact, and it looks like the car is an absolute toast in the worst place possible. He now has to drive almost a whole lap with an undrivable car. Now he has a little bit of a queue behind him, that's Cool K and Nemedis. Nemedis with a little bit of damage himself, let's see if... Looks like Gunses will have to nurse it back to pits, and I don't think that car is gonna go much further than the pit lane at the end of a lap. He's getting out of the way of two cars. Nemedis is able to continue. Gunses is very slow, taking the corners and trying to make it to pits. 6 minutes left till pit window opens, so that's not gonna be it. He's gonna have to continue, make a stop, and then make another stop. Psychedelics meanwhile putting Framed Automotive under pressure. The Mercedes is back with a vengeance. South City rejoined the race with a 1 lap gap to our leader. Nemedis and Cool K in the battle now. Nemedis being a little bit stuck. He has damage, but he does still have speed. Gunses is way far behind, so it looks like that car is absolute toast as we continue onward. No overtakes happening as of yet, but we see Nemedis and Cool K, as well as Framed Automotive and Psychedelics locked in a couple of battles. McLaren Team and our team still 1 second apart, so 2 leaders are holding station. Might be a moment where we see undercuts being forced for the sake of an overtake. And looks like a mistake from Framed. We caught it. Framed Automotive missed his braking spot, and Psychedelics goes through into 4 sport, easiest overtake, which he celebrates with a little bit of a wall tap. Meanwhile, we switch a little bit further back. The battle continues between the McLaren of Nemedis and a Mercedes of Cool K. The Dane with a mistake in turn 8 early on, trying to recover some positions. Definitely has the speed, but he also has plenty of damage and bent rear wing, as we've seen. Looking to take it relatively calm without being over egregious. For now, continues on. See the Danish driver with a stylish helmet. And we see that very bent rear wing as we cycle through in car cameras. McLaren team meanwhile sets the fastest lap. Gunses is out of the pits and looks like he's pulling up. Looks like the damage might be more than he expected, or he's letting people by. I'm not sure what is going on with the Latvian. He finds himself stationary at the side of a track. That wheel looks... Oh, and we have a crash. That's Cool K now in the wall, trying to figure out where it is. That looks like turn 1, so the first chicane caught him, and that's another damaged car. The wheel is not crooked, so the driver continues, but Gunses looks like he is now pretty well parked, and that car is definitely not running. So looks like an issue for Gunses, and yellow flag in sector 1. The drivers will have to navigate this with caution. As the pit window is gonna start in just a couple of minutes. I'm trying to find some information at what is going on. Might be some technical issues on top of damage that he suffered in that crash. But for now, the car is still stationary and losing plenty of time. Disaster from Gunses. Meanwhile, we do have 2 leaders who are pretty safe from damage and now engaging in their own battle here. That's 73 and 71, 2 Ferraris from Racing Team Intel. No James and McLaren team still engaged in a heavy battle, but one mistake, as we've seen, and it might be the end of your race. Psychedelics with 347, which is a great lap for the German, and looks like Gunses is now going to be listed as DNF as his car is rolled back onto the pit stall, and that's going to be our first retirement of the session. I'm not sure it's gonna be last. That track is absolutely treacherous. Latvian tried his best, but it looks like it was not meant to be, with a heavy crash for the Latvian. Unfortunate result, and that's his mulligan used. No more drop weeks, so he'll have to make everything else count throughout the season. But that is arguably the hardest, the most difficult track of the year. So a report from the privateer entry of Gunzer's looks like after repair the steering was still severely bent, so it's probably major repair for the next race and unsalvageable, I can speak English, for tonight, so that car is written off and Gunzer's is damage retirement today. 10th place, and unfortunately not going to pick up any points as we are not even a third through the race, and no mandatory stop means the driver is ineligible to score points. That's going to be a fat 0 for the Latvian. And we continue with 9 cars, 2 of which are still engaged in a very close battle, as we have just a minute left till our pit window opens. And honestly, I might see McLaren team dive into the pit lane before James to try and undercut. We'll see if there's going to be any tactical shenanigans involved. The cars are still a second apart, and that gap has been pretty much stationary for the last 10 minutes or so. Drivers are continuing on 1 second. Next is Artem Racing 5.5, which has been mostly stationary as well. He's just a tiny bit slower, but still keeping up. Further on, we have Psychedelics being very safe in 4th position, as everybody else around him decided to self-destruct. Followed by Nemaitis with the damage, Framed Automotive with looks like more damage, as he let Nemaitis by as well. Kulki with damage, Viperian with damage, and Salcida with a pit stop because of damage. You see how this track works. And the countdown is not gonna be this lap, but it might be next lap. The pit window is now open, and it's gonna stay open for 20 more minutes. You see the marker which signifies the length of the pit window, and we'll see if anybody decides to dive down pit road at the very start. Doesn't look like it, at least among the leading group. You probably don't want to navigate this circuit with a tank full of fuel, but we might see, there's the first car actually, Nemaitis. It's pretty much a mandatory stop for him, as this rear wing is crooked. He was losing time because of that, and he using that opportunity to pit and fix some damage. We see Framed Automotive, the German, also on pit road, probably to fix some repairs alongside the usual service and new set of tires. As Gunzer's petitions for tire walls in chicanes, probably to make them a little bit more narrow, just to make sure they're even deadlier in the end, as he decided to end his race in those chicanes. Nemaitis back on track. Salzeder looks like just a minor corner cut, nothing spectacular, but now the battle continues. We see once again McLaren team is all over the rear of his teammate, but they're driving 2 identical cars with pretty much similar, I would believe, setups, and there we go. There is the undercut from McLaren team, hot into the pits. Once again at pit road speed limit 120 kilometers an hour you need to be when crossing the line, so McLaren team using the last possible moment to brake, and that's gonna be a stop for him, and it's gonna be very interesting where and when does not James pit. That might be crucial for race for the lead, and we're gonna wait and see where does McLaren team rejoin. You see Kulke round up our final turn. His team is still on the pit road. Viperian is going to be following shortly, and if McLaren team rejoins behind, as he's going now, and he will rejoin behind 1, possibly 2 as Kulke goes by, that might compromise him a lot. And if not, James waits it out and he sees the situation, and he makes enough of a gap to rejoin in front of Cool K. That might be what makes or breaks this race. Now James has 17.5 minutes to make it happen, as McLaren team will have to drive around competition unless Cool K pits very shortly. Difficult situation for car 71, but we'll see if he is able to make it work. Next car is Viperian 3 seconds back. I don't think there's going to be a factor for our lead contender. Reminder that McLaren team is essentially a full pit cycle ahead of 2 cars around him, Cool K and Viperian, so he's not fighting them, but he might be held back by them. Not James answers immediately, not James in the pits, and that might be a very interesting decision. He is not willing to wait it over, and he will rejoin somewhere in this pack. And he might be pestered by Cool K as well. That's an interesting decision by not James, and that might be a decider for that battle. You see on board Cool K, who is now ahead of McLaren team. We see the lead car. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? He's not there yet. Not there yet. And Cool K is through. Not James, still in the pits. There might be some damage on the car, as he's still in the pits as McLaren team breezes by. And let's see, I don't see any immediate damage, but that's a long stop. Something has not gone right for Not James that we were not able to pick up. And it looks like the battle for the lead is all but over, as he is only now rejoining the track. There's Nimedes going by, and that's several positions lost for our ex-race leader. Not James, I wondered if he decided to answer immediately, but looks like that was a forced stop due to something happening on his car. Wow, he now finds himself, let's see, almost 30 seconds back of McLaren team. That is the extra length of his stop. McLaren team is being held back, but that might not matter in the slightest with very difficult for lap 4. Not James. McLaren team finalizes his overtake on Cool K and now breathes some fresh air. Now he has 2 cars in front of him, Atom Racing and Psychedelics. Not James off the road again, and he's spun. That's a spin in turn 5, 6. The chicane coming onto the back straight. So definitely a very nervous moment for Not James, who is losing points by a second. Viperian is next to stop. We'll see where the battered and bruised Mercedes rejoices. He was the first one to wreck, and looks like it might be a lucky charm for him, as he avoided some of the further carnage down the road. Meanwhile, our new race leader, Atom Racing, he was 10 seconds behind McLaren team and Not James, but now with Not James gone, we'll see how much McLaren team was hampered. It looks like 32 seconds, but it's a long pit road. You gotta take that into account. Viperian on pit road being passed by Not James, and he will likely rejoin in 7th position. Now we see Psychedelics, who is now chasing Frame to Automotive, but that's a battle with a lap between them. So Psychedelics would not want to waste time if he's stuck behind. There's definitely something else that has to be considered as we're nearing the middle of a race. 33.5 minutes plus 1 lap left in this race. Drivers in the pits complaining about long delays for repairs. Definitely some serious repairs having to be done. There's Cyclist going around Framed Automotive, and now he's in free air, trying to chase Atom Racing with a little bit of a wall tap again to celebrate. Looks like the way for the German and our race director to celebrate a pass is to tap a wall just a tiny little bit. Maybe just his rear toe, rear camber. Just a tiny little bit. Race continues with Autumn Racing in the lead. Waiting to see his fast lap time. He is right behind Viperian here, as I see. He'll have to get that pass done sooner rather than later. As we switch to our pastel yellow, as I called it, race leader. 8 seconds clear of Psychedelics and 32 seconds clear of McLaren team, but Tim has already completed his mandatory stop. A little bit of damage on the right side of that Ferrari. It's not compromising him too much, as we're gonna see his latest time, and it's gonna be 35 and 35.3. It's a little bit slower than his best time. 34.7 is his personal best. 34.8 a reply from Psychedelics, closing that gap. McLaren Tim is no longer the fastest car on track, as I see Psychedelics set 34.1, which is our fastest race lap so far. Very interesting that Mercedes can definitely run fast. Looks like an issue for Framed Automotive with Switch. That's a car facing the wrong way at the exit of a second chicane. That's turn 2-3 on Surface Paradise Boulevard. Cool K now in the pits, clearing the air for the Midas and not James. Psychedelics now 7 seconds close. Autumn Racing still stuck behind Viperian, so that's not boding well. Never mind his first position, but possibly his second place as well, as Psychedelics will be reaching out. Now James a little bit too far behind to better for this, I believe, at least right now. We'll see how it shakes out after the pit cycle, if Artem is electing to take some repairs, and if so, how much. For now, he's still stuck behind Viperian, who's very aptly showing him middle finger, but Artem looks like he's gonna jump into pits now. And here is our race leader in the pits. Let's see how he navigates the road and rejoins. Viperian passes Kulki. Kulki rejoins in 7th position right now. And parking job looks like not missed. And we'll see as he rejoins if he takes any repairs. But for now, McLaren Tim exiting the final turn, and we'll see if he is able to clear Autumn Racing. If he does, by how much. He was about 5.5 seconds ahead when he pitted. Now he goes by into 2nd position. Autumn still in the pits, and it looks like it's gonna be a little bit more. Now Autumn rejoins in 3rd place, 4.9 as he accelerates, 5.8, 6.2, and it looks like Autumn lost about half a second, not too much. Pretty equal between McLaren Team and Autumn Racing, as Autumn is gonna have a little bit lighter fuel tank and a little bit fresher tires as he goes into his hunt for the podium position. So with 9 minutes to go, we have Psychedelics left to pit. Thinking who else hasn't done his mandatory stop. I'm not sure if Framed Automotive pitted within the allotted frame. I think he did. Not sure about Saltciter as well. He pitted early on, which was not a mandatory stop as it was outside the pit window, but I guess we'll see in about 9 minutes. For now, let's switch to our actual race leader, Psychedelics. The mighty roaring Mercedes. Psychedelics looks like he's going for the same exact tactic from his last race. Pit as late as possible and see where it takes him, but he's doing 34.4. He's one of the fastest cars on track. So now, he did save tires more than in Dubai, and that tactic might actually work out in favor of the German in the 93 Mercedes. So as he tries to get lap after lap done and get somewhere, it's probably a good time to have a little bit of a break, take a sip of your favorite beverage, and be back in just a couple of minutes. As we go back, Psychedelics currently still leading the race by 24 seconds over McLaren team towards the end of a pit window. Cool K has been in the pits for his mandatory stop. Now Salt Cedar is stopping, and looks like we have only our current race leader still yet to stop, and he has about 4 minutes to do so. We still have only one retirement. Guntzes was unable to fix the damage on his car and was forced to retire early on. Viperian 35.6 best lap for the Kiwi. Almost a home race for Viperian, and he'll hate me for saying those words out loud. Close enough. Psychedelics selects to continue, and once again, a late stop tactic for the German. Looks like the last possible moment. And interesting to see how it pans out. 32 seconds between him and Artem Racing, and McLaren team showed that it's about 40 for a stop, so he'll be slightly behind, but on brand new set of tires, and he would have closed the gap. The gap used to be 8 seconds, so slowly chipping away, and that might be a very, very good result for Psychedelics in the first stint, and we'll see how it goes for the second. He's still being incredibly fast, so Artem Racing will need to be in a little bit of a haste towards the end of a race to be able to save his second position, but not too fast to miss the wall again. That's the fine balance at the Gold Coast. You have to be incredibly fast, but not too fast. One mistake and you might be out of races, showed by the 000 McLaren. But now Psychedelics is chasing his teammate in Viperian. Obviously there's not going to be any battle involved between those two. They're on different laps and their teammates. So if there is a need, and there will not be a need, as Psychedelics dives onto the pit road, the final car to do so, decides to not leave it to the very final lap, just in case. And now he is on the pit road for his mandatory stop with 2 minutes left to go. He's the last car to do so. And we switch to McLaren team, who is now exiting the final turn and onto the Gold Coast Highway, and pass the German in the pits now to claim his lead of the race. Pretty comfortable, but the car we're interested to see is this car. Artem Racing is closing in on the pit. We see him on the left hand side. He's passing down, and now Psychedelics leaves. He's gonna be behind, but how far behind? That's not exactly too much. That's a good stint for Psychedelics, and he closed the gap. It used to be 8 seconds. Now it's about half that. And he has about 20 minutes to close that down to 0 and overtake Artem Racing. That's gonna be our battle for the second podium position till the end of the race. Meanwhile, Salt Cedar continues to recover. He finds himself in 9th position, just in front of Nod James. Different laps, but they're both chasing Cool K, and it's gonna be 4th position for Salt Cedar. So he's using his teammate to pull closer to his position. 2 seconds between them. 39.8 for Cool K, not the best lap, and 35.1 for Salt Cedar, who is now pushing through with his brand new repaired car with some new glass and side panels. 35.4 for Viperian, yet another fastest lap for Kiwi. He has been steadily improving. 13 seconds behind Nod James and 24 clear. There we go, there is a pass by Nod James. That's not for position, that's lap, but this is for position. Salt Cedar behind, and he'll have to set up a pass on the chunky Mercedes. Looks like Kulke is not entirely fencing a battle. That's through the evidently faster car, and that's an easy pass for Salt Cedar, who is now in 8th position. Everybody safely through. 2:06.3 the pit lap for Psychedelics, and you can see the gap now down to 3.6. The pits are now officially closed. The pit window is done. Everybody completed their mandatory stop, and now we have 20 minutes left in this race. Looks like Kulke is off the road very slow, so something must have happened, and the car is pulling to the left, and it looks like that car is stationary and not going much further. and it's back in the pits, electing to have a tow, and that might be our second retirement of the race as the driver leaves the car. 2/3 of a race done on another wall tap for Psychedelics, chasing Atom Racing, and it might be on the brink of point pain position. We'll have to see how it shakes out regarding well, laps and lap times. But for now, everybody continues. 8 cars left on track, and the closest battle brewing is between Atom Racing and Psychedelics. McLaren team is gonna complete his 27th lap in a moment. 35.3, not exactly the fastest lap time. Let's see what Atom and Psychedelics show. 35.1, slightly faster by Atom Racing, and 35 flat, even faster by Psychedelics. So they're slowly catching the leader, but the gap is 10 seconds. It's absolutely massive. They have to close by about half a second every minute. So unless something happens to our leader, I don't think there's gonna be a battle for the lead. He made us even faster at 34.7, but the gap is way too big. So he'll be hunting down if there are any mistakes. But definitely you see the gap closing between Atom and Psychedelics. Two very different cars, a nimble Ferrari and a chunky but fast Mercedes. Psychedelics noted that he might be using high wing for this weekend before the race. Probably using that just to have a little bit more control in the turns, even if it costs a little bit of top speed. You saw Framed Automotive earlier overtake Psychedelics just because of top speed difference, but that led to nowhere as he was forced to fix his car due to damage as Psychedelics continues on. Just minor wall taps here and there for the 93 entry of Phoenix Racing Team Black. So it looks like better safe than sorry is working out for him just fine. But it's better safe and quick than sorry for him as well, as he is getting some good laps in. Gap now down to 2.2, 35.5 for Atom, 34.3 for Psychedelics, some absolute monster lap, equaling the fastest ever lap by McLaren team on this track. So he is closing down on both Atom and Tim. I don't think that's gonna matter much, but once again, if Tim has a mistake, these two are able to capitalize, and with Psychedelics pace, that might be him that's gonna be the main beneficiary of a possible mistake. It is quite possible that Tim is currently being extra cautious, extra safe, not trying to do anything stupid here, just getting the race done. We'll see how it goes for him. 16 minutes left in the race. All the other gaps are pretty set, even now James, you see 35.7. I don't think he did too much repairing on his car, even though he spent forever in the pits, as his pace is far from optimal now. Continues on in 5th position currently. Nemesis with good pace, probably not going to be caught by James anytime soon. But the battle continues here. The black and blue Mercedes, car 93 of Psychedelics, and ahead of him, the pastel yellow Ferrari of Atom Racing, car number 37. This is the battle. 34.9 by Atom, 34.4 by Psychedelics, another half a second shaved off. And he's more than close enough to get there by the end of a race. Now we have 7/10. You see Psychedelics much faster in the first section. Through the Esplanade and Surface Paradise Boulevard, he gains about half a second. Possibly that extra rear wing helps him navigate the turns much better. If it harms his top speed, it does not matter. He's now half a second back. And now challenging for second place. 10 seconds ahead is the race leader. But probably these two are not thinking about it right now. They have their own battle. Just one move, one good move from Psychedelics needs to settle this, but You remember, one mistake and they're in the wall. So you have to be extra cautious setting up that pass. Pretty much single file here. But Psychedelics is able to get in the brakes a little bit later. But his part of the track is first sector. They're catching up to framed automotive, so there might be a left car influence. A very Italian Ferrari is still holding on for dear life, but that might be slowing down both of them as now McLaren team with 35 mids. Let's see if that is faster than these two. Yes, 35.6 for Autumn Racing. Still 34.5 for Psychedelics. Psychedelics is closing down rapidly, but he has a car in front of him now. That is his biggest problem. Now he cannot just do clean laps. He needs to find a way around it. He needs to find it sooner rather than later if he wants to challenge for the race lead. Atom is not making a mistake. It's probably gonna take a mistake to set up a pass, because the car of Psychedelics is not very punchy out of the turns. So it's definitely two different approaches. And while the German is able to drive faster in general, in a battle, it's advantage to Russia. It's I can make a reference here, but I will not. As the battle continues on with just under 13 minutes left to go in this race. Out of the parade hill onto the Gold Coast Highway once again for these two battling out. They're not closing in McLaren team anymore, as Psychedelics is a little bit stuck behind Atom. I don't think they're thinking of winning the race now, even for Psychedelics, otherwise he would have thrown an attack already. It looks like they're engaged in a battle for second, and that's all they're thinking of. Oh, a little bit too close to the wall. Psychedelics had to pull up just a tiny little bit, and you see the mistakes are creeping in, but so does framed automotive in the frame, if you will. It's a lapped traffic. He's in 7th position, but that might influence the battle. In Phoenix Racing Club, by the Spotan code, you do not have to move out of the way for the blue flag. Blue flags are informational only. You keep your line, you do not fight an overtake, but you do not have to get out of the way. So the faster traffic will have to just get around you, essentially. The blue flag is an advantage to a slower car, and expecting the faster car with more control to be able to get the pass done. But as these cars are separated mostly on damage, that's not a huge speed difference despite being a lap between. Oh, there is a mistake! There's a mistake from Atom, but looks like Psychedelics is not able to capitalize just because of how tight this section is. Atom covering down the inside. Psychedelics had to check up, but now they're very tight behind each other. And let's see if that mighty Mercedes is able to pull a move. He's close behind, but not close enough. For now, just stalking, looking for the inside. Is he gonna be close enough? No, he's settling in behind, but now Atom is under fire and making mistakes. Looks like just piling on the pressure works for Psychedelics, as now there's more damage on that Ferrari, but the pass is still not done. Still 10 minutes to go, plenty of time to get that one overtake done, but probably not enough time to chase the leader. McLaren team is slowly getting away. Thankfully, looking at his relative time display and seeing those two engaged in a battle and slowing each other down. Still engaged in a fight. You look at Mercedes behind them. That's one car who's been setting fast lap after fast lap and not bothering too much about battle. The gap was 12. now it's 8. If this battle continues with the pace it's been, we might see a third car entering the fight for the podium. Nemesis shaving off time like no tomorrow. Very, very interesting possible change here. Atom is being deliberately slow to cover off possible attacks. Psychedelics cannot get around, and there's zero influence on that by Nemesis. You just saw him out there in the background. He definitely sees this battle. He knows what's happening in front of him, but he needs to close down by about a second a lap. He needs to get laps done. Oh, you see the 34.2 Nemesis. Incredible lap times, and he's fastest 34 flat, which is the second fastest. Psychedelics able to do 33.9 at some point and looking for a move, but not close yet. Still stuck behind Atom. It looks like by Psychedelics movement that 10-3, the left-handed 10-3 is his best opportunity, as he's better in the chicanes and he needs to set up a pass there. Unless a mistake happens, this is his move. 007 is ever closer in front of these two, so he might be a factor unless he decides to get out of the way and continue without influence in the battle for podium. 8.6 for Nemesis. Looks like an error creeped in somewhere, which is very, very unfortunate, as the Dane was on an absolute charge. A slower lap might be compromising him here. Psychedelics looking like a slight mistake here, but now we do have a lapped car factor. Atom Racing caught up to Framed Automotive. Silent Sitter is on pit lane as well. Looks like another car is gonna DNF, but looks like he will be in points. Definitely. Let's see if there's gonna be any kindness from the orange car. No, he stays ahead, and looks like for another lap there might be traffic. 34.7, 34.9, so Atom is a little bit faster this time around while he's not under pressure. He made a still good lap, 34.4, but not good enough to shave off a second or two. So he's closing down, but that closing down might only matter if they have a close battle. But still a factor. Definitely still a factor that's gonna play into Psychedelic's mind while he's setting up an overtake. Now Atom Racing is flashing his lights at the car ahead, letting him know he's there, and letting him know not to make a mistake, not to slow him down, and possibly even get out of the way. There's a car really slow, and he stays on the racing line. Let's see Atom now alongside. Will 007 yield? He's very close, but he's now yielding. Will he yield for both? No! He goes out of the way, he goes, cuts the corner. He compromised them just a tiny little bit, but now he's out of the way. Psychedelics 1 second behind, they're clear of lap traffic. Psychedelics were not able to capitalize on that and probably harmed a little bit more than Atom in that exchange. And whoever won is Nemesis, who's now 5.7 back. Gained 1.5 seconds in that, 6 minutes left and 6 seconds behind for Nemesis. Once again, if these two battle, I don't think Nemesis is able to get there on merit, on speed alone. But if there are fights, he will be the first to benefit. 6 minutes left to go. There's a slight gap between those two, so a very, very short break for me to have a breather. Meanwhile, 33.8 for Nemesis. Incredible performance by the Dane. Sorry, I had to put that in. Well, actually, never mind, not a short breather. Psychedelics side by side. Atom on the inside trying to protect, but slow exit. Who's the first on the brakes? Long way around for Psychedelics. Atom not able to win that, and Psychedelics able to get through into the second position. Pass done on Atom, and that Mercedes is gonna breeze away. Now 5.3 for Nemesis. Will he be able to close down? You see that car behind. Great overtake. It's not done yet. There might be still mistakes from either car. You see that Ferrari is not willing to go away and into the night quietly. Just under 5 minutes to go in this race, and it might not be over yet. At the end of a race, I am sweating, and I'm not even in this race. So you imagine how hard it is for these drivers. very nervous end of a race. Under 5 seconds for Nemaitis. He's gaining that second a lap on Atom Racing. He might have just one opportunity to overtake if he keeps that up. 4.9, 5 seconds for Nemaitis now. You see him there, back there. He is now catching up to Framed Automotive. Let's see if Framed is moving out of the way for him, or maybe supplied with some draft. 33.852. That is the fastest lap of a race set by the McLaren of Phoenix Racing Team Orange. He's on absolute mission now, going around Framed. Framed is not yielding that easily, pinning him to the inside, maybe harming his lap time just a tiny little bit, but the pass is done. He's now in clear air. But it's 5.2, maybe lost just a tiny bit of time in that exchange. It will be difficult. Atom Racing is not prone to clean driving in this race, so we might still see a mistake as he almost taps the wall there. 3.5 minutes. Nemaitis is an absolute fire. He's now the holder of the fastest lap of a race, but we are looking here. 1.3 between Psychedelics and Atom. It's still all to play for. One mistake and it all will change. Nemaitis just 5.6 back. It looks like he lost just a tiny bit of time. There's another wall tap. The Ferrari is not feeling itself too well. We see no visible damage at the front of a car, but wall taps are still influencing the Ferrari. He's doing a great lap. We see on this display. It looks like both Psychedelics and Atom Racing found the loud pedal towards the end of a race. Empty tanks and relatively new tires are playing in. 33.3 for Psychedelics, 33.9 for Atom Racing. It's an insane time from the Mercedes, who sets the fastest lap of a race by half a second. Incredible lap by the German. McLaren team, meanwhile, not getting out of 34 just yet. He is cruising, 10 seconds. Nothing's gonna happen to him unless he puts it in the wall himself. And it looks like Nemaitis is all out of luck towards the end of the race with how fast his opponent started going. It looks like the race might be settled unless something happens. Great lap for Psychedelics. We'll go on board with him with 2 minutes to go. And the previously announced short breather. And we'll be looking at the current fastest lap holder of the race as we go to pure sound for just a tiny little bit. Final minute of a race. Nemaitis, not agreeing with that fastest lap set by Psychedelics, sets his own, which is the new fast lap of a race, 33.292. An incredible lap again by the Dane. They're trading fastest laps with Psychedelics. Looks like there's not going to be any racing on track, but the trade is now on fastest laps. We have 2 laps to go for everybody. This lap and one more, as timer will expire. Viperian looks to be off the track a little bit. He was racing not James. Interesting development there. The Viper very close to James's. I think James made a mistake but recovered just in time. But that might be a battle towards the end of the final lap. They will have 2 more laps, as the leader has not crossed the line yet. We'll see how that develops. Meanwhile, McLaren team here in the final turn, and now he'll take the white flag. Time has expired. 1 lap, which is gonna start now. Atom is now within 1 second again. The Ferrari is not giving up, flashing his lights, doing everything he can, but looks like he might be doing a little bit too much as he makes a mistake there at the exit. makes too much a mistake and he's all out. 34.6, 34.9 for 2 drivers there. And he made a 35.8, a mistake from a Dane. He's pushing a little bit too hard, but he's probably noticing he's too far away. But Artem is 3 seconds back now. He made a serious mistake somewhere. Or Psychedelics is just flying now, catching up to McLaren team. But we're going to our race leader, McLaren team car, number 71. A picture-perfect race after a difficult start. His teammate gave way with an error, and he capitalized on that, made no mistakes, a little bit safe, but still just within the needed tolerance to be safe. We still have that battle brewing. That's Viperian and not James. They're currently routing out the penultimate lap, and they're just in front of our leader, so they will have 1 lap to settle that. They definitely will. We have to switch to our leader. We'll spectate that fight as soon as we can. Meanwhile, car 71 is out to the final corner. Gold Coast Highway for one last time for McLaren team as he wins the race in Surface Paradise. Brilliant performance by McLaren team. And now onto this battle for top 5. Viperian versus not James. Viperian looking for a move. He's gonna be on the outside of a turn, but will the mighty Mercedes hold? Yes, it does. Not James looking for a counter pass on the inside. He hits the curb, hits the wall for Viperian, and he is through. Psychedelics, Artem raced and Nemida 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, respectively. But Viperian is now in the top 5 with a brilliant overtake on the final lap. It's not over yet. Still half a lap to go. Still half a lap to settle this. Viperian ahead, Viperian top 5. Viperian looking for a great finish with a great overtake. A very, very hurt car of not James after a few issues. It looks like Viperian might be safe if he just keeps it clean here. Framed Automotive finished in 7th place. Saltseeder will end the race in 8th, and these are the final cars on track. Almost a home race, I will keep repeating that. And the 0-5 entry, the Kiwi Viperian in 5th place, passing the final turn and onto the start-finish line, claiming a top 5 finish. Brilliant race by the Kiwi with a late overtake. Spectacular result, and not James from pole, from lead, an error makes him finish in P6 with some heavy damage. What a race of attrition, a race with very, very hard punishment for a mistake, but a race won by McLaren team once more. Whew. What a race. Well, just from a get-go, let's just grab our race winner. McLaren team, are you here?
Yeah, hey Georgian.
So, a difficult race for you at the start, but after the pit window, pretty much cruising. And we saw your pace was pretty much lower than everybody behind you once you've settled for the race lead. Is that just a safe tactic, just get to the finish line? Or was the car not performing well and just by the virtue of not crashing, you ended up where you ended up?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the latter. Yeah, it didn't feel super good in the car around this track. Struggling a lot with like understeer, and then later in the race the rears were giving up, so I had to just try to keep it as straight as possible, and I was still going way slower than everyone. But yeah, in the beginning I was telling James like I'm okay if we finish like this, because honestly this track is just kind of a massive headache, really. I don't know. But yeah, good job to like the Mercs and the Mateys and the McLaren for going so fast. But yeah, I was just hoping to finish.
Well, definitely good start, and I guess teamwork handed you a good result. I'm not sure what happened to James at the end, but as he exited the pits, he was far gone. I'm not sure if there's a team radio
Yeah.
involved, if he
No, I
shared.
think he clipped the wall slightly, and there's a lot of krakens in the wall. Like sometimes the wall will just eat your car or eat a piece of it or launch you in the air. It's pretty bad.
Okay, yes, so we've seen a very, very lengthy stop for him and assumed damage. And well, with 2 wins out of 3 under your belt, next track, it's gonna be a 2-week preparation, and it's gonna be Virginia International Raceway. Essentially home race for you. Very different racetrack, essentially no walls in mind, but plenty of grass. Are you familiar with the track? Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah. Yeah, I've tried it a little bit. And yeah, hopefully a proper racetrack will be slightly better for us than the street circuit. But yeah, overall I think my driving could be loads better, and then just being super not prepared for these last 2 races didn't really help. So yeah, hopefully I'll rest up and then attack with some new energy.
Alright, well, congratulations with the win, and see you next race.
Yeah, and thanks for the show.
Right, let's grab ourselves the car that supplied the show today. Hello, Syke.
Hello.
So, very, very entertaining end of a race for you. That Mercedes of yours looked a little bit down on speed, but very mighty in the corners. Is that the consequence of what you told us last time? Just more wing and safer approach for the S's?
Yeah, I guess so. We didn't quite have the acceleration that the other cars have, which is to be expected. Especially the Porsche of framed. It's just a freaking rocket on the straight line. And yeah, against the turbocharged cars, we always will be a bit suffering. But in the end, it worked out. The stability of the car was quite nice, and that, I think, helped a lot.
So with the final few minutes while you were engaged with Atom Racing in a battle, were you keeping an eye on Nemedis and his blistering paces he was catching up? Were you just waiting for a mistake, not trying to force things, or just not able to get close enough?
I only saw like 1 or 2 of Nemedis' lap times pop up, and otherwise I was focused on Artem in front, trying not to run him over in the braking zones. And yeah.
I see. Well, great result for you again. Back on the podium, back in 2nd place. And next up, Virginia. Different track, lots of turns, barely any straightaways. Is that gonna fare better for the Merc?
I think so, but I was wrong about Surfer's Paradise, so who knows. But I'm looking forward to it. I quite enjoy Virginia as a track, and I'm hoping for a good result there as well.
Alright, well, congrats with the podium, and see you next time.
Thanks, bye.
And I guess we'll end on a somber note as we welcome the car that failed to finish the race. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
So, Gunsis, tell us what happened there.
I think the short end of it is that I took one too many walls, had some serious suspension damage, tried to fix it, and it was not fixed. And my steering wheel was 90 degrees to the left, even after the pit stop. So I had to retire.
So, question probably not about this race in particular, but your entire weekend. The Phoenix Racing Championship, the Phoenix Racing Car Club, Phoenix Racing Club car, there you go, competed in Daytona 24 hours, which ended just a few hours before this race. How tired are you at the end of a week?
Slightly tired. I mean, had to wake up my time, 7 a.m. to get into my morning stints for the Daytona 24, and then, now it's like 10 p.m., so it's a bit of a day.
Very long. And tell us a little bit more about the Daytona 24. How did it go?
I think it went decently well for where we were. Qualifying did not go well. I was like 20th out of 21 cars, and the final car just didn't qualify. But I think we stuck to the try to survive strategy. I was a little bit worse at surviving, or I spun and then an LMP2 collected me, resulting in a 7-minute pit stop for repairs. But in general, finished 12th, so I think it was a decent result, all things considered.
Oh, well, congratulations for, well, one race, and sorry to see you go a little bit too early on the second, but I guess it's a little bit more of a rest for you, so you don't have to drive this track for too long after 24 hours of racing. And,
I suppose so. I do enjoy this track. It just the car was not prepared for this track at all. It was very nervous in the corners, and that's why I ended up in the walls.
I see. Well, I'm not gonna hold you for much longer. Enjoy your well-deserved rest.
Thank you very much.
And that is going to be all for us for today. Thank you very much for everybody who joined. One more spectacular race towards the end. Different competitors, different cars, and an interesting result. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. February 4th, mark the calendar. We're going to Virginia International Raceway. Phoenix World Championship continues, and we are approaching halfway point. Until then, this is goodbye.